Today is Tuesday, July 31st, 2018. My name is Boston City Councilor Matt O'Malley, and we are here to discuss docket number 1084 for the Committee on Environment, Sustainability, and Parks for the City of Boston to accept and expend a grant of $90,000, which was awarded by TD Bank for the community gardens and green spaces in the city. The grant refers to a 3-year partnership between the Mayor's Office of New Urban Mechanics, the trustees, and TD Bank. The purpose of this grant is to support Boston's neighborhoods' community gardens through community-based projects, events, and workshops for 40 gardens in the City of Boston. We've been joined by Michael Evans and Chris Carter for the Mayor's Office of New Urban Mechanics, and we look forward to hearing from them both shortly. Boston is home to more than 10,000 gardeners and 200 community gardens spanning 50 acres across the city. I would venture a guess that that number might be conservative. I bet there are more than 10,000 gardeners. As the chairman of the Environment, Sustainability, and Parks Committee, we must preserve our community gardens, which hold various benefits, including absorbing rainwater, reducing air pollution, increasing access to fresh foods, and fostering community. I've been delighted to spend some time with friends at the South Street Community Garden in Jamaica Plain. Last month, we dedicated the Detlev Kopitke Little Free Library in honor of one of the amazing founders of the garden who passed away several years ago. This is as non-controversial a hearing as we will hold in the City Council. I will show my cards right off the bat and say, of course I support this, and my colleagues I know will vote for this unanimously. I hope unanimously. I can't imagine why not at tomorrow's meeting. But I did want to have this hearing, even though it's a relatively small grant, because I think it really shows the commitment that you all, that this mayor, that Commissioner Cook, now Chief Cook, has to supporting our community gardens, and one that I want to see expanded, because a little money can go an incredibly long way. So, gentlemen, did you want to just begin with any opening thoughts or comments and get right into it?
Hey. So I sort of have some lengthy remarks here.
Please, the floor is yours.
So I hope I don't bore everyone. So first off, we just wanted to thank you for giving us a chance to chat about this program and what we hope to achieve with it. Just as a broad overview, the grant from TD Bank will fund a 3-year program run by the Mayor's Office of New Urban Mechanics and the trustees, a Massachusetts-based nonprofit conservation organization. And the aim is really to bolster the connection between community gardens and Boston's residents. So the program, as you mentioned, will engage and enhance up to 40 gardens in 6 neighborhoods in Boston. And the program will also include city-owned green spaces such as the Fenway Victory Gardens. A little bit about how this came about. So recently, TD Bank has funded programs in Miami, Philadelphia, and New York City that support city green spaces and the expansion of the urban tree canopy. They've also partnered with organizations like the Trust for Public Land to connect more city residents with their public parks. So last year, they approached the Mayor's Office of New Urban Mechanics about bringing a similar program to Boston in which the city could collaborate with a nonprofit partner. They connected with potential partners and were impressed by the trustees. The trustees have 56 community gardens in Boston with over 200,000 visitors each year. They've shown a great commitment to community engagement and top-flight stewardship. So we jointly developed this program with the trustees. So to get into the weeds a little bit into the structure of the program, there are basically 2 main parts. So the first part of the program involves supporting innovative design installations from local artists and designers over the grant period from 2018 to 2020. Each year, the grant will provide $30,000 to fund 3 teams of designers and artists to implement community-focused design installations at 3 gardens and city green spaces in Boston. So that includes Dorchester, Jamaica Plain, Roxbury, and Fenway. The installations may support storytelling and community conversations, community dinners, performances, or interactive play. Each design team will also host 4 community engagement events related to their projects. In addition to the trustees, we plan to continue to collaborate with Boston Parks and Recreation and the Department of Neighborhood Development on these projects going forward. So the city will select these projects by issuing a public call for proposals through a new urban mechanics program called the Public Space Invitational. We've had extensive experience working with local designers and artists to prototype projects that aim to make our public spaces more delightful, welcoming, and intuitive. Since 2014, these projects have resulted in a wide variety of things, including a portable reading room for neighborhoods and green spaces, the activation of the mezzanine in Boston City Hall with brightly colored skateboard tape that you may have remembered, a poem and photography series from Boston's poet laureate at the Mattapan Branch Library, and a project that transformed a streetlight control box into a dual-use piece of urban furniture that you can check out at the Old South Meeting House. So for the 2018 program year, projects will be installed at the Nightingale Community Garden in Dorchester, Chilcott and Granada Community Garden in Jamaica Plain, and the Fenway Victory Gardens. We worked with the trustees in Boston Parks to find a diversity of locations that could support community events of at least 30 to 50 people. So if you're interested in the projects that will come about for this year, a pair of landscape architects will build a solar-powered, towable, and modular community gathering space that includes tables, chairs, lighting, chalkboards, and charging stations. And that will be at the Chilcott and Granada Garden in Jamaica Plain and the Fenway Victory Gardens. In another project, community artists will highlight the role of some hidden aspects of our gardens. They'll build 12 beautiful pollinator pots planted with native pollinator-friendly flowers to attract bees and butterflies that will benefit the gardens with greater fertilization and productivity. They'll also organize intergenerational craft-making workshops to build shade accessories for gardeners. And finally, a Dorchester-based theater troupe will celebrate the cultural heritage of Nightingale's gardeners through interactive theater performances and the creation and installation of colorful banners. So we're still working on the final site selections for 2019 and 2020, and we're always open to suggestions. So that's the first part of the program, $30,000 per year for 3 years, with the city selecting the artist and designer-driven projects. There's a second part to this partnership that is run by the trustees, and it focuses on providing community building and skill building workshops at community gardens throughout Boston. The trustees will receive a $45,000 grant from TD Bank to expand their community building and wellness programs by up to 40%. And they will also provide community engagement and stewardship support for artists and designers involved in building the design installations. Basically the crux of that program is that the trustees in 2018 will hold 10 community building and skill building workshops at its community gardens in Dorchester, East Boston, Jamaica Plain, Mattapan, the South End, Roxbury, and Mission Hill. And just, basically the gist of it is that the skill building workshops teach people how to garden, and the community building programs provide things like community potlucks, yoga, that kind of thing. So sort of in conclusion, I think our office is really excited about putting our own spin on public space interventions over the years, and we're excited about our first extended engagement with community gardens in Boston. And we'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback as we continue to develop the program.
Great. Terrific. Thank you so much, Michael. Chris, did you have any opening thoughts as well, or did he cover it all?
I think Michael's got it all.
Great. So this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this hearing. At first blush, I assumed that this was grant money to help seeds and plants and other sort of maintenance of community gardens, important, but this is different. This incorporates arts, community engagement, skill building, sort of some fun infrastructure, such as I'm very excited that Chilcott and Granada will get a solar powered, so is it like a little module that has PV paneling on the roof, and that's how it's...
So it sort of packs up into this thing that can get towed around.
Yeah.
It's a project called Trailer Made, and the idea is that it can actually travel between Chilcott and Granada and the Fenway Victory Gardens.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
So go back
and it packs up, so it includes all the things you need to sort of make a makeshift community gathering space.
I love it. And we have 200 community gardens across the city, approximately?
That sounds right. I mean, I'm not sure of the exact number. I know that the trustees own and maintain 56 gardens.
Kerry O'Brien is giving me the nod, and if Kerry says yes, I learned more than. So I guess that's my question, and this is off topic, but I think somewhat, pertinent. Is there a desire to grow that number? Because I'd have to imagine there are wait lists for nearly all of them. And that's really not you. I don't want to put you guys on the spot.
Yeah.
That's not our mechanics, but since you've been working on
Certainly
this.
outside of the purview of this project, but we're certainly aware of some of that happening, some of it through the Community Preservation Act funds that
Sure.
are coming in and communities raising their hands for that. And
Yeah.
potentially, in years 2 or 3, we can work with gardens that are maybe just getting started in this program.
Yeah. So this is the tough question I'm going to end with. I want both of you, and you can't say the same thing, to tell me your favorite community garden in the city of Boston.
So, even though it's not in my neighborhood, the Fenway Victory Gardens are this immense space to sort of get lost in, and they're incredible. And then Berkeley Gardens, mostly because of the sort of historical story there of urban renewal, sort of taking down some of the buildings, and then a garden sort of rising in its place, I think is a really beautiful metaphor for what we do with open space in the city of Boston.
All right. Good answers both. Michael?
So Chris took both of mine. So I walk through the Berkeley Community Gardens a lot because it's this nice little oasis in the South End. But so we had an event at the Nightingale Community Garden in Dorchester, and it has just this incredible story where basically there was a school that burned down, and then they ended up building this exquisite garden. It's huge. Has this awesome community gathering space. The group of gardeners there is very strong and very community oriented. So I would at this point say Nightingale.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent choice as well.
Do you have a favorite garden, Counselor?
I forget the name of it, but there's one in Charlestown where a couple years ago I was invited. They do like a clam bake there right around this time. So maybe by mentioning it, I can weasel my way into another invitation. That one was great. Run on Cummins Highway is great in Rosendale. That's been around since I was a kid. So yeah, I would say I'm not much of a gardener myself, but I do see how much they add to our city, and probably the only non-controversial development hearing has to do with community gardens. So that's why I want to see more of them. Okay, so the timeline on this, presumably we vote affirmatively tomorrow, as I will strongly be urging my colleagues to do. Does that, will we have stuff for this season, or is this going to be next season?
This season, and then also 2019 and 2020.
No, but I mean, like the trailer made, will that be at Chilcott and Granada?
Yeah.
Next week if we pass this?
In a few weeks, it should be there, yeah.
That's terrific. I should do my team is here. We should do office hours there at some point before the summer's over. That would be fantastic. And then, is this new that this has been under your purview, sort of urban mechanics, parks? Is this the first time you guys have sort of administered grants specifically for something like this?
We've definitely done public space work in parks before, the
Right.
South End Library Park, a couple other ones, but this is our first foray into a community garden space for sure.
Well, I think it's a natural marriage, and it makes a lot of sense, and I'm glad to see it, and I'll do everything I can to hopefully encourage and foster more than $90,000, because there's a lot more you can do and a lot more people that I know you want to serve. Well, gentlemen, that is all I have, unless there are any closing remarks from either of you.
No.
Any folks wishing to testify from the public? I neglected to mention from the offset that this is being aired live on Comcast 8, RCN 882, Verizon 1964, as well as streamed at boston.gov. My mother is likely watching, so hi, Mom. And not hearing from anyone else. We all set, Ron? Okay. This hearing of the City Council's Committee on Environment, Parks, and Sustainability is hereby adjourned. Thank you.